everybody. I just wanted to give an update about the recent flight that I took from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta to MCO in Orlando. As most of you know, hubby and I are still quarantining, but I needed to go to Florida because my parents were generously giving us a car, and I needed to go pick it up from them because it was the only time they were going to be in Florida this year, and they really wanted to get things moving with the transaction. So Phil and I toyed with the idea of trying to make it into a little bit of a vacation, but neither of us felt really comfortable going to a theme park. We're not eating out in restaurants. We're still staying pretty quarantined. We will occasionally eat outside on a patio. We will get food and bring it home, but that's about it. We're not really going into any enclosed space. So I really wasn't comfortable with the idea of Phil going because he already has had COVID, and it was an over 3-month ordeal of trying to get him back to health. So I just didn't want to take the chance. I felt pretty confident flying because I watch a lot of videos of people who fly often, and the rate seemed fairly low on getting COVID. So I decided that I was going to mask up with a disposable mask, which I put on in the morning when my lift got here, and I didn't take off again until I was actually safe in the bathroom of my parents' house. So I did that. I did wipe down the seats completely in the plane, and I actually wore gloves on the plane that I disposed of as soon as I got off. But it was a really weird situation because I knew things were different when I got to the airport, and I said to the driver, just drop me off wherever. And she said, oh, don't worry, honey. I can drop you off practically at the plane. And that was true. Hartsfield-Jackson, which is a very busy airport, we were able to drive in the far right lane up against the terminal all the way to the very end to Southwest. So that was the first indication that things were going to be weird. Went inside. I was happy to see everybody was wearing masks, which is great because in our town in Georgia, it is about 50-50 whether people are wearing masks or not. So I went through security. It said it was going to be 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes. And they did take my driver's license in their hand. They did make me pull down my mask, very quickly just to verify that it was me. And then when I got to the terminal itself, that was the big surprise because everything was closed. The bookstores were closed. The restaurants were all closed. Chick-fil-A was open. It was at 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday, but even the Varsity next door was closed. Atlanta Bread Company was closed. All the restaurants were closed. The only thing that was open was Chick-fil-A. The Starbucks was open, and then Charlie's Steakery, which we'll come back to. But everything else was closed. And as I'm nearing my gate, I see this huge line. And it's actually a line for the vending machine corridor. So there were a bunch of people jammed into that corridor who were buying food because I guess they just couldn't make it on their flights or didn't think to bring food. So my flight was only an hour, so I consciously made the decision I wasn't going to be eating or drinking anything on the flight. I can make it. So that was really weird. It was strange that everything was closed. So thank goodness I didn't need to buy a book or a magazine because there was nothing open. So got onto the plane. I did have the entire row to myself because the middle is blocked from selling right now on Southwest till November 30th. And no one else sat in my row. So I was sitting by the window. I was actually on a wall that didn't have a window at all, and I purposefully picked that because I wiped down the entire wall because chances are good if I get on a plane and I don't have to keep Phil entertained, I am falling asleep, and that's exactly what happened. I fell asleep before the plane even took off. I think that they came around with drinks, but I'm not even sure because honestly, I woke up about 15 minutes before we were landing. And I don't really know what happened because I just slept the whole flight. But my parents had already warned me on their flight the previous week that everyone jammed into the center aisle trying to get off the plane. So I just sat in my seat. I just relaxed. I let everybody jam up because there was a person in the front who they really should have brought a wheelchair onto the plane for because she was not mobile enough. It took multiple people to get her off the plane, which, was fine. But I wish that all these people were not jammed together like sardines. But the other weird thing that happened is all these restaurants are closed. So obviously it was not easy to get food. And a few rows back from me, I noticed that a family was there with about 3 kids, and they put out a full meal from that Charlie's Steakery for each of these small, very, very small children. And when I noticed them in the beginning, none of them had masks on. And when I noticed at the end, none of them had masks on, and, whatever. So anyways, the flight, I waited till the end to get off. Got off, got into Orlando Airport, and everything was open. Every single store, every single restaurant. Almost everyone was wearing masks, which was great. And actually, I was in Lake Nona, Florida, which is part of Orlando, and everywhere I went, people were wearing masks. Also, it was kind of unique because all their stores were really well stocked. And here in Peachtree City, Georgia, our stores are not well stocked. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But in terms of flying, when I got to Orlando, I did take a look at the security line because I was driving back to Georgia, so I wasn't going to be flying, and I just was curious. And I would say it looked like it was like a quarter of what it was normally there on a Saturday. It was really, there were not very many people here, so obviously a lot of people aren't flying. I wouldn't have done it if it hadn't really been kind of a necessity. So I did it, and of course I'm grateful to see my parents, who I at no point could hug or kiss. And as an Italian, it was hard not to kiss my parents. But I got to their house. I didn't even, they went out on the lanai when I got there, and I actually stripped off all my clothes and threw them in the wash, and I went to the shower and fully showered, and then, went out to greet my parents, and still no hugging, no kissing. But it was worth it because I was glad to see them, and it gave them some relief. And of course, I was very grateful that they were gifting us a car. So I'm glad that I got to see them because I hadn't seen them since January, and I probably won't see them again till January. So if anybody has any questions about what it was like flying, feel free to put it down below, and like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff that you're used to hearing. And just let me know if you have questions about flying, because I certainly didn't expect to do it, but I did it. So have a great day.